A massive cold front, gale force winds, ice cold temperatures, and a soaking rain. Most of us would just stay home. But for Steve Pennaz and veteran tournament pro Mark Kortz, it's the perfect day to continue a legendary ongoing Commando grudge match.
I love fishing new water. The challenge is always the same. Find fish, trigger strikes. Ooh, there's a big fish. But what I really love is beating the other guy. I got a fish. This is Lake Commandos.
This may not be the typical backdrop for a fishing trip, unless, of course, it's the Lake Commandos. This is Camp Ripley, a massive 53,000-acre National Guard training facility in central Minnesota, where thousands of soldiers from all over the country and even the world come to train every year. But today, it's going to host a different kind of commando mission, as Steve Pennaz and professional angler Mark Kortz have been given unique access to a small, hidden lake deep in the heart of Camp Ripley, on the kind of day that would make even the toughest soldier take notice.
Well, Mark and Steve are in for a great treat today. The wind is howling. We are far back in the training areas. I'm quite sure they'll never be able to find their way back out. However, being a true commando, they told me this show was called Lake Commandos, so I figured they really had to truly experience that. And I think you'll find that it might be a bit challenging for them, but I think you'll see some great stuff.
Well, dude, this is a true commando mission, I think.
This is definitely a true commando mission. What did we get ourselves into?
I don't know, but according to the map, this is the road to the lake.
At only 42 acres, this hidden gem may be tiny in size, but makes up for it with a variety of shoreline character and cover, and is home to a healthy population of largemouth bass.
What do you think, Steve?
Gorgeous lake. Hard bottom, sand, the water's clear.
The mission? To overcome a severe cold front to find and catch trophy largemouth.
My choice, obviously going to a new lake, one of the things I really like to do a lot is throw on a crankbait. I'm using a Digger 8.5 New Berkeley crankbait. Got it on a Venerate rod with a Revo MGX on 20-pound Berkeley braid. This is going to be my combination to beat Steve Pennaz.
Hey, Mark picked crankbaits, and that's a great search bait. I like his idea. In fact, if he didn't pick cranks, I would have, but since he's picked cranks, I'm gonna go with a jig. This is a 3/8 ounce bass jig with a chigger craw on the back end. It's gonna allow us to fish shallow. It's gonna allow us to fish deep. I'm fishing it on 15-pound, 100% fluorocarbon. I got it tied to 50-pound braid. This is trilene braid. I'm fishing it on a Revo STX reel. Super smooth drag, just a fun one to fish. This is a 7-foot 6-inch medium heavy Veritas 2.0 rod from Abu Garcia. Great sensitivity, super lightweight, and a lot of fun for fishing with jigs. This is the 4th time Mark and I have battled on Lake Commandos. I've won the last 2, he won the first one. He's going down again today. It's gonna be 3-1.
The weather is the story today. As a massive cold front moves through, temperatures are expected to drop below the 50-degree mark. Rain is a possibility, and the wind is a steady 20 to 30 miles per hour with possible gusts close to 50.
Well, young man, as guest, you have the choice of going first or second.
I'm gonna take first.
I knew you would.
So the Commandos will start with Mark's Berkeley Digger crankbait pattern, moving quickly along the shoreline, searching out the best cover and active biters.
I like these 8.5 diggers though, they sure run well.
They do run really well.
And they catch fish.
under conditions that are close to impossible.
Ooh, you can feel that temperature's dropped since we've got here.
Yeah, they're calling for gusts 45 to 50 today.
Well, I think we've had a couple of those already.
But if anyone can overcome weather like this, it's a lake commando.
Mark, I got a fish.
Nice. Let me get this away from you. Clear my line here.
I don't know if this is a bass or what. Yeah, it is. Nice fish, too. Nice fish. Oh, look at that.
Oh, look at that fish.
Oh, gorgeous. Yes! Boom!
Nice work.
Nice start of the day on the 8th. You know what? We got this is the first time I've seen cabbage out here. This in a lot of lakes is key to catching fish, and you can see how nice and green it is. That's awesome. Look at the size of this fish right there.
Beautiful fall fish on the digger, 8.5.
That's awesome fish. Awesome fish.
Nice work.
Get started here, baby.
Pennaz sets the tone on an ugly day, but it's always been a toe-to-toe slugfest between these two, and we don't expect anything less today.
Here we go. Another one. Woo!
Lake Commandos is brought to you by Ranger Boats, still building legends one at a time. Power Pole, shallow water anchor, swift, silent, secure. Abu Garcia, for life. Fraybill, trusted gear since 1938. Berkeley Power Bait, fish bite and won't let go. And by Quebec Outfitters, enter to win your ultimate fishing trip. It's a true commando mission on a tiny, unassuming lake in the middle of one of the largest military training facilities in the country, Minnesota's Camp Ripley. On a horrible weather day, Steve Pennaz has an early lead, but Mark Quartz is a proven performer under any conditions. He's one of the most successful professional anglers on the water, with a 20-year career that includes 35 top 10 finishes, the 2008 Professional Walleye Trail Championship, and just last year, he won the coveted Lucas Oil Walleye Angler of the Year award.
You know, I really do like the Lake Commando format. You know, I get the opportunity to travel around the country and fish bodies of water all the time. And that's the one thing I enjoy, is going to a new body of water and dissecting it, because then it's me against the lake and me against the fish.
This is one of the biggest fronts I've ever fished.
Absolutely. I mean, what a swing.
Fish! Big fish, Mark. Ease up, ease up, ease up. Yes!
Oh, another good one.
Whoa! Stud!
Another
Oh,
good
he came off right in the net.
What another beautiful fish, Steve.
That's gorgeous, isn't it?
These things are just chunks. Heck with you and your fish. I gotta get the fish in here. I'm down 2-0.
Like I said, I'll take a slow bite any day when you get quality like that. I mean, the fish we've put in the boat right now have all been studs.
Yeah, and you know, that's one of the things with fronts like this. I mean, you're really looking, you know, if I'm looking at a tournament day or something like that, you're looking for 5 bites a day, but they're all gonna be quality.
Yeah.
Fish.
Got one? Good one? There you go.
There we go. Nice.
Woo, there you go.
You know, the funny thing is, Steve,
What's that?
with your format, it doesn't matter how big they are.
I was gonna ask you if you're gonna count that.
Absolutely.
That's a good fish, man. I'd count it. What's interesting about cold fronts is in the south, they tend to really shut the fish down, particularly when you're fishing Florida largemouth. In the North Country, a lot of times a cold front is not necessarily a death knell to the bite. Today, we had tremendous fishing, and yes, the weather was terrible, the wind was cold, the rain was obnoxious, but we put some giants in the boat. This is probably the best big bass day I've had in a long, long time. And they're tight to shore. Fish, fish. There's a big one. Oh, look at that beast. You get the net, please?
What?
Net.
What?
Don't jump, don't jump. That's a giant.
What an absolute
Oh, that's a toad.
beast.
Oh my gosh, look at the size of that fish. What a giant. Oh man, that's a bass. What's interesting is when you get to sneak into a little honey hole like this, it's an advantage because it doesn't get fished that hard, but it's a disadvantage where you have no intelligence on the lake at all. We didn't know how deep it was. We didn't know if there was grass in there. Heck, the only thing we knew is that there were bass and walleye in here, and other than that, it was really a true commando mission. That's one of the biggest fish we caught all year.
It's a beauty.
That's a giant.
That's awesome.
The Berkeley digger is digging up some giants, but time is nearly up on the crankbait pattern and things are getting serious in the front of the boat.
Just wallered on the surface there for you.
Do you see this boat positioning? Do you see this boat positioning this 90 degree? I have no room to cast here.
This segment is brought to you by Yeti Coolers. Yeti, built for the wild. The Lake Commandos are on a mission to find and catch trophy largemouth bass on an uncharted lake in the middle of Minnesota's 53,000-acre Camp Ripley. As a military training facility, Camp Ripley is on the cutting edge, but it's also a state wildlife refuge. And Camp Commander Colonel Scott St. Sauver, along with civilian volunteers like Mark Kortz, have developed a number of programs to use this wildlife paradise to help veterans and wounded warriors.
When I came back from my second deployment to Iraq in 2010-11, I came up with the idea because I was looking for an opportunity for veterans and currently serving soldiers to socialize together. I think one of the biggest problems we have, Steve, is that we have a lot of mental scarring going on with our veterans right now. And while we've done a tremendous job with our physically disabled soldiers, those are the wounds that you can see, we've needed to do some work with our mentally wounded veterans to get them back in the outdoors, get them back into what they love being, and that's Minnesotans for us up here. So, and being in the outdoors. So that's what Trolling for the Troops was meant to do. It was meant to bring a group of professional guides together and then take a currently serving soldier and a veteran of all areas and service together for a day on the water. Now that really worked, but what really worked was when you brought them together to socialize, and they started sharing stories about experiences in Vietnam and experiences in Korea and experiences in Iraq and Afghanistan. And all of a sudden you saw emotions flow out of those events. And so Trolling for the Troops isn't about fishing, it's about mental healing.
Back on the water, the Commandos have made the switch from Mark's crankbait program to Steve's jig pattern. But the weather conditions are getting worse by the minute.
Getting frustrated. Boat control is tough. And I've lost a couple of bites because I'm just struggling to the boat. Fish. There you go, you got the lead and I got the frickin' mess.
There is the lead fish, right there.
One of the biggest challenges I had today was making casts and having the bow and the line from the wind, and I really had difficulty getting good hook sets. I lost at one point, I lost 3 fish in a row and got real frustrated. And under conditions like that, against an angler like Mark, you're not gonna come back.
Ah! Oh, there we go.
You got 3?
In the grass.
These jigs are starting to work. We got it back into the bay here. Mark picked up 4 quick ones. I lost 3. That's 7 fish. It's shallow enough. You can see the mud getting kicked up by the trolling motor. We're only in 3.5 feet of water right now. Oh, fish. Big fish, Mark. Whoa, another good one. Oh, giant. That bait hit the water and he was on it.
Nice job.
Look at that fish. That is a bass, baby, right there. That's a 5, huh?
Absolutely. I'll tell you what, this lake is impressive. Oh. You're still down by 1.
Yes.
But what a beautiful fish.
In spite of the weather, this small body of water is kicking out giant fish, and this commando battle is as close as it can get. But time is running out for Steve Pennaz. Lake Commandos is brought to you by Yamaha. Reliability starts here. Garmin, fight your fish, not your fish finder. Abu Garcia, for life. Berkeley Trilene, Anglers Trust Berkeley Trilene. Yeti, built for the wild. And by Aquaview, see what's really down there. With winds cranking up close to 50 miles per hour and an ice-cold rain, Steve Pennaz and Mark Kortz enter the home stretch of another classic commando battle that right now has Kortz nursing a 1-fish lead.
What's interesting, we got back into the shallow bay. It's 9 feet deep in the middle, but it drops kind of gradual and there's a lot more grass in there. We found the majority of our fish there. Now the biggest fish that we've taken on average have been out in the main lake here, but
And on my pattern.
and on your pattern, but we've taken some giants on the jigs too. And the challenge for me on the jigs is the wind is blowing so hard, it's hard to control the boat and get a good hook set. There's been a couple times there's a fish right there. Ooh, that's a giant too. We better net this. Yes! Boom! Boom, tied it up, baby. What was interesting today is Mark went on a couple tears. He'd reel off 3 or 4 fish at a crack, and he got on these schools and he lit them up.
Oh, there's one, Steve. It's a good one too. What quality fish though in this little body of water. This is a true gem hidden in the hills of Camp Ripley. The actual quality of fish all day long was, 4 and 5 pound largemouth in the north during frontal conditions, and we caught a lot of fish. Oh, look.
Dude, that's a giant.
Just
Holy
another
cow.
absolute tank.
Mark's fishing green pumpkin. I'm fishing at sugar craw and a black blue jig. We're getting bit about the same. He's just fishing a lot cleaner than I am right now in terms of hooking fish and landing fish. And I busted off a big one over in the corner, and he went up 2, and then he just got on a roll. Now he's up by 4 in just this little stretch right here. He picked 3 off this point right here.
Minus that one.
Slime! You cast right on top of me! That's a nice fish.
Yeah. The one key factor though today was definitely capitalizing on the bites you got. Just another beauty. The difference today for me was I capitalized on all the bites, and Steve, well, Steve, he struggled all day long. Oh, come on. Really? Last second fish.
Net. Dude. It's a good fish, man. It's a really nice. Whoa, look at that. Look at that. Get him.
Oh, nice. Nice one, Steve.
Boom. Well, look at that. Well, Mark,
another beauty.
Hey, I want to tell you what. We've had an awesome day, despite the weather, but look at these fish. The bad news is you won. The bad news is you won. You were up, what, 3 or 4 or
4.
2? 4.
So you cut it to 3.
I cut it to 3. All right.
You know, it's rained all day.
Yeah.
It's blowing 50.
Yeah.
And the temperatures continue to go down,
It's cold.
down,
my
down.
hands, my hands
down.
aren't working.
Just like you.
Yeah.
Down, 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 down. Just like the temperatures. You are ice cold right now.
Hey, if you want to win what works for us, visit LakeCommandos.com or check out our Facebook page.
I'm Captain George Mitchell. This is Coastal Chaos. What's the best hook for live baiting? Man, that is a tough question because there's so many variables. After lots of years of experimenting, I've narrowed it down to just a few models and sizes. Most of them are circle hooks, but not all. I go with circles mostly because they offer a superb hookup percentage. For smaller baits like Manhattan, pinfish, and croakers, I go with the lightest wire hook possible. I keep a full accompaniment of medium weight circle hooks. I say medium because we're fishing 20-pound test line. Now, if you're targeting snook, you've probably got a good chance at tarpon as well. For that, we're going to use a 3/0 or a 4/0, but either way, you want to make sure you've got the hooks to match the targets. Lighter wire hooks are fine for 30-pound test and below. When you're heading offshore and you're going to bump up to the 50s and the 80s, you got to increase the wire size. For medium-sized baits like herring and runners, I like to drop down to a 5/0 or 6/0 circle hook. It allows me to use 30 or 40-pound fluorocarbon leaders and not worry about chafing through. Oh, the red? I use it because it works. For larger species that demand heavier tackle and drag pressure, you'll need to up the strength of your hook. But it's not always about strength. Make sure you match the size of the hook to the target species and the bait. Coastal Chaos, tips for serious saltwater anglers.